Princess Cold. So this is to you, Nyami and your Nyam. Fiesa Afra Kumasintimisa. The name is about the length of my show. Princess Nyami and your Nyam. Thanks for listening to Daddy, okay? Folks, but we start the way we start. Until the lions have their own historians, the tales of hunting would always glorify the hunter. And you know, I'll say that again. Folks, I said, until the lions have their own historians, the tales of hunting would always glorify the hunter. Hello and welcome to the most opinionated hour on radio and the nation's thought-provoking hour. I am Nana Ansah Kwao IV, Chief of the Little Republic of Akwemu Edumasa, and I say thank God it's Monday. Here we are once again, blessed, chosen and favored to meet up for the all-important ritual on radio, a ritual that has informed us over the years, educated us, and at times even entertained us. A ritual I call That's My Opinion, only on Joy 99.7 FM, always at this time on Mondays, so make it a date, tune in and join us, and by all means share. Live on Facebook, live on YouTube. Those of you who want to listen and watch, or watch and listen. Folks, our topic today, the yes and the no's of Ghanaian culture. The yes and the no's of Ghanaian culture. At this point, I'll say, let us all gather and make truth good. Folks, once again, welcome to the greatest storytelling hour on radio. And that's how come, those of you driving home on Mondays, you just love it. Just tune in and just listen to the stories. And, it's just, for an African, stories are very edifying to our soul. So once again, let me say, welcome to the greatest storytelling hour on radio. Folks, last week we talked about culture and development. And I was saying then that traditions were made for man and not man for traditions. However, one constant thing in life too is change, because life in itself is very dynamic. The spirit of time is not stagnant. No matter how slow it may seem, change will come. And it changes with the ages. So I was saying then that, in my opinion, as time and people change, so should the traditions, so it stays meaningful and useful to them. But some of you thought I was asking to do away with our culture. And I wasn't talking about culture. So I thought, why don't we extend the conversation, the yes and no's of Ghanaian culture? The yes and no's of Ghanaian culture. Folks, as for culture, there is very little room for movement, because there's something divine about one's culture. Folks, our identity, our sense of belonging, our pride, our need for unity, our morals, wisdoms, language and codes are all subtly embedded in there. And so when you do away with what is your culture, basically you are throwing away your identity, your pride, your morals, and these are the characteristics that make you pursue if I may say, the Ghana beyond aid mentality. Folks, I said these are the characteristics that make you pursue, for want of a better phrase, the Ghana beyond aid mentality. Why do I say so? Because these things make you proud. And because you are too proud to beg, particularly for things you can make or grow on your own, folks, it makes you very proud to eat and wear and appear as yourself. And therefore you become innovative and creative to produce, to supply, to satisfy yourself. Folks, when you have these characteristics, you don't need to be policed to do good by your country. You know this is your country, you must love it, and you do good by it. And all these things are subtly embedded in our culture, in our proverbs, in our wisdoms, and our morals, which I have said time and time again, come from our ancestry and nowhere else. However, folks, there are some traditional protocols to go through to achieve cultural norms. That is where there's room for improvement or change. But the cultural principles should always stand. The cultural principles should always stand. Folks, our mode is an example. Our mode of prayer is by libation. Now, before libation is poured, most high office holders witnessing the libation will have to taste the drink to make sure it's alcohol, since alcohol and water look alike. Then the prayers can begin. So I am saying, in these days of aggressive germs and COVID-19, could we give individuals a communion-sized cup or even half of that, just a little small receptacle, so they don't have to share one calabash? In this case, the tasting is done, the prayers are said, but no germs are passed around. Tradition responding to the sign of times, but the culture of libation stays. I don't know if this works out, but that was what I was trying to say. Folks, I don't think we have enough time for such a big topic, though. But I will try and bring your minds to the damage we have caused by the neglect of our culture. And I may have to touch on, things that I may have touched on in the past because I genuinely believe in it. Folks, let's start with the culture. Simple. Just building architecture with local materials, i.e. laterite and clay and thatch. There are hundreds and thousands of people who are sleeping rough in front of shops, on pavements, hustling to make it, facing the elements of the weather every day. They go to bed and pray that there's no rain. And yet, when they gather a bit of cash and go back to their various hometowns for funerals or for Easter, they are the hot shots and crying for an happen. And some of them live in houses built by their grandparent or great-great-grandparent, made of clay, which still stands and serves the purpose. Some have plastered it and cemented it and, They put wires in it. When the house was built, probably there was no electricity in the town, but now there's electricity. So they wired the house, they have their TVs and fridge, and it's habitable. Can we not improve on the technology of the culture of building with clay? Instead of sleeping rough on the street and waiting for some millions or thousands to drop from the skies so we can buy iron rods and cement, which are just so expensive, before we can build? Before we can build. So that one act of throwing away the culture of building with clay has created millions of homeless people. And currently, sometimes last 2 years ago, I think we were about 7 million houses deficit upside down. And most of these people who are sleeping outside are sleeping on clay or laterite, sleeping on the very material that their forebears used to build houses. But they're sleeping on it, homeless. How do you develop a country on the back of so much homelessness? It may seem developed, but what you realize is that you draw a line and there's a major class divide which goes to become a problem in the future. But folks, yes, there's always room for improvement. And so the culture of awododoye, nyamine hwemma, to which it's good to give birth to many children, and God is the one who provides for the children. Now that can be worrying in today's world. Folks, that can be worrying in today's world. With technology and mechanization, you don't need many hands. With no local wars, you don't need many men to form armies. With machines, you don't need too much muscle. Technology, machines cost lots of money. And I'm telling you, in all sincerity, that God does not and will not provide these things. God is not going to provide you with any machine or any technology. No. He's already giving you the brain to go ahead and do it. Whether you do it or not is up to you. So the raising of children now is not cheap. That's why we hear of children being given away to fisher folks, engaging in very dangerous work just to survive. The times we are in doesn't support many children. And by extension, the country also needs schools, hospitals, roads, many social amenities, even parks for the children to play. And they also don't come cheap. So the more you flat with children, the more the state has to build social amenities. The culture of many births per woman is not sustainable. Now, once upon a time, you had a child, he or she grew, went to the farm, you could have 20 children. All you do, grow more food, which indeed, as soon as they grow by themselves, they will even grow their own food. No school fees, no uniforms, no books, no tablets, no teacher, no extra classes fee, transportation to school and back, nothing. And the list today is endless. The list is absolutely endless. School trip, you go school trip, grabber. I don't cry as you go school trip, papa. So yes, this culture, folks, can't be sustainable today. But many years ago, it may have been a very relevant means of survival for small tribes and small groups to quickly get some more children and get the numbers and become significant and relevant. Where do you place that today? When we're doing blue track and green track and red track because yado sododo and we don't fit in the schools. So sometimes, folks, You step back, look at the times, look at the tradition or the culture, and you must change. Otherwise, change will eat you up. Folks, but the culture of morals and integrity, the culture of protecting one's family name, the honoring of one's ancestors. How do you build the nations with leaders who don't have these attributes? Leaders with no integrity. Leaders who have no shame whether their names are tarnished or not. Leaders who don't honor the leaders who came before them. Folks, how do you build a nation like that? And we are all paying a huge price at the neglect of that single culture. We are paying a huge price at the neglect of that single culture where leaders have no shame. Absolutely no shame. And everybody was asking me today, Nana, are you going to talk about, the sharing of money, They have no shame. And then you can put camera, national TV camera on a black man who be no Jessica bribing and buying votes in front of camera. And this is supposed to be a person who we are going to give power to come and lead us. You ask yourself, lead you to where? Ask yourself, where is this person going to lead you to? Nowhere. It's just there to amass or repay back the money he's giving you to himself and his family. And it is clear. It is guaranteed that as soon as he or she is put in any place of power, he's going to replace all that money back. And so that culture of integrity, of the fear of shame, protecting one's name, that is still relevant today. And maybe even more relevant now than then. Even more relevant now than then. Because back in the day, if somebody was, the Ghanaian chair, he was just looking after Ghana. But now today, if you are the, president, you're looking at Gamanche, you're looking at the 2-4, you're looking at the Akwamuhene, you're looking at the Kwauhene, you're looking after everybody. So even your sense of integrity and your protecting of your name should even be, triple. So that is a very relevant culture today. That should be imbibed in everyone. But the loss of it, folks, the loss of that single fear of shame, my God. And the bill is not yet, I'm telling you, this is just, oh, the bill is yet to come. When eventually the class divide decide to clash. When eventually all our children who are dadaba and going to dadaba schools and they are learning this and learning that, versus all those who are hustling and crossing rivers to survive, when eventually they are all 40, 45 years old and they have to share the national kitty, that's when you will know that we left a big mess. We left a big mess. For those class divide, how would they live side by side? Because by the time we go, we have extended all our walls, we have put all our barbed wires, there's nothing more we can do. So either our children stay in there permanently, because when they come out, they will be eaten. Either they stay in their barbed wired house and electric fences, they should stay there permanently. Maybe grow food or find somehow to drones to drop food. Because they will be eaten alive. And that is what we are. Sir, all these delegated Jessica, sir, all this, for what, stupidity going on. That is what we are creating. Because you have leaders who don't have sense of bringing what? Equity or equality. No. They are thinking of themselves. And so those have not as hustling to survive, And it will get to a point, as everything has a breaking point. And that's when the bill will come. When the results of leaders with no shame, leaders with no integrity, when their results come, or when their bill come for us to pay, oh, la 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 la, it will be beautiful. It will be beautiful. So if we don't sit up and bring this culture straight back, so you have leaders who are so worried about their names being tarnished, leaders who are scared of cameras, pointing at them while they are sharing money, leaders who, when assume position, look, they can't be perfect, but at least strive for excellence. They can't be perfect, but leaders who strive for excellence, that make sure that a child in the Dumasa has the same opportunity as a child in Dansoman, so that when they grow, the Ghanaian in the Dumasa does not envy the one who lived in Dansoman. The neglect of culture. The neglect of culture in the name of modernization or in the name of Yeniebie, the price may be too high. At this point, I want you to also talk to me, and it's 0302 216 541. 0302 216 541. So, yes, I believe staunchly in traditions and maintaining it. But I also believe that because of time and because of the changing circumstances, there are certain things which, if you stick to, you may be damaging yourself. There are others that if you neglect, it's just suicidal. Now, there are many, many examples. I could go to justice, even our sense of time, our work attitude, and all that. So maybe we'll just have to keep doing it in parts. But let me hear what you have to say to it. Okay, so who's my first caller?
Your first caller is no other person than Saint OJ.
Saint OJ, let me hear you, my brother.
Okay, and I'm very happy you brought up this topic. There's a story of a people in England who were used to cutting the ends of their sausage before frying it. And one day, one of the children became curious and said, "Mommy, why do you cut the ends of the sausage?" And he said, "I don't know. That's how I made my mom do it." They went to ask Grandma, and Grandma says, "I don't know. I also made my mom do it that way." But fortunately, the last grandma was alive. And she said, "Oh, we do it that way because the first time sausages came, the frying pans were too small to contain it. And that is why we were cutting it. It wasn't a ritual." But you can imagine by that time amount of sausages that had been thrown into the bin in the name of not questioning the culture and the rituals that we do. So, as you said, there's so much that we can change in our culture, even though there's so much that we should also maintain. And I like most of the things that you have said. In fact, today, something like respect for the elderly, in fact, respect for ourselves is actually missing. School children today don't even understand greeting the elderly or greeting each other when they meet. It's as if it's a thing of the past, something we don't need again. And all sorts of behaviors that children are picking up. And another last thing I would want to talk about is it saddens my heart anytime I look at the kind of women who are coming up today. And it looks like a bell has been rung that every woman should go naked these days. And it's like nobody cares. And our street is becoming those for prostitutes. So I also feel very, very, I feel the trepidation in the future of our children, just like you are saying.
Thank
I don't know
you.
how we will return it.
Let's see what others will say. And thank you very much for calling. And hello, who's talking to me?
Hello, my name is Kobna.
Come on, some many agents. I'm feel my meeting gadget.
Ampa, Minister.
Come on, let me hear.
Today's topic is a little bit strange, Let me say that. And since you are a chief, I won't say a king, but I'll say since you are a chief, a renowned chief, you want to break our knowledge about culture. But I understand that culture must change when you are passing a drink in a calabash after libation or a ceremony because of passing on disease from one person to another, right? Maybe those might not be privy of the kind of disease they have. So that's where a chief has advisors who are knowledgeable, who have gone to school, right? Then they can reform that practice. But when we come to the other areas where it involves public policy, I don't see where culture comes in. Nana, do you understand what I'm saying?
Okay, I'm listening.
Yeah, I don't see where culture comes in. For example, let's say China. In China, you remember, China at a point in time limited the birth rate to one birth per family, right? After criticisms, they laxed it. So at least China, they permit a family to at least give birth to two or three.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't after criticism. They reached their target where now the population is dropping. You see, they were growing.
Okay, so
they were growing out of control. Imagine 2 billion people. Everybody will be out 4, 5, 6. You are in trouble. So they said 1, but now they've gotten to a threshold where the population is dropping. So now they're encouraging 2 births. So it's not because of criticism.
So do you have the research on that, the literature on that?
Oh yes, it's a fact. I mean, just Google it. Where they Google.
Okay,
they started in 1970.
Let's assume
they started in 1970. Yeah.
Okay, so let's assume you are right.
Okay.
So, but all I'm saying is, let's say in the area of building, right? How can a poor person use clay to build? So what government these are areas that we expect government policy, right? Where the government will put money into research. There are certain profit ventures that the private sector will do, right? That you and I cannot do. Institutions will do. They'll put money into research and development, right? But in areas where it affects the majority of the people, government must be able to put money into research where PhD students can research into areas that you and I can pick the literature and then move with it. You understand? Yeah. So in that case, I don't see where the culture comes in.
Oh, Kwabena, how could I have dropped Kwabena's goal? Kwabena, the culture is the culture of building with thatch. And I'm saying once you lose the culture of building with clay and thatch, it becomes very expensive for you because now you're building with foreign materials. But who is talking to me?
Hello.
Hello.
Nana.
Yes, sir.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you too. Who am I talking to?
Happy New Year to you, Ghanaians, and all the listeners. I won't say much, but when it comes to tradition and culture and all these things, for example, you have a lot of learned listeners. Not everybody calls. Including myself.
Yeah.
Wow.
So
this particular issue, for example, have you heard of this? I don't know if it's a proverb or whatever. Anomacha was sura, or it will come down, or bejibo, or something like that, right?
Yeah.
You have?
Yes, I have.
Now, these are the gentlemen who talked about the sausage, edges, sausage being cut, and it's not a ritual thing. What does that mean? Our elders left them with this. That means that whether if you are progressing or you are flying higher, we need to shoot you down. Get rid of some of. There are a lot of things that I'm not going to get into.
No, you're misinterpreting the proverb. What it means is that if you stay in one place for too long, you become a target, which means as a human being, you should always progress.
But why should it be a target if I'm a CEO or whatever I'm doing, whether a pastor or whatever, whether I'm a businessman? Why should that be a target for people to, no matter also, I have to come down?
Well, it's a nature. It's nature. It's not. I don't even think it's anything. But it's
in part of our programs, and with your topic brought it up.
Yes,
I thought about that.
Let me hear you. Yeah, let me hear you.
So basically, there are things that, including childbirth, the population. There are so many things that we need to really, and I thank you so much for bringing this topic up. I just want to bring this proverb and for you to explain and let us get some understanding, because some of those proverbs that we have some negative connotations, and it may not be relevant in this day and age. That's all. Thank you so much, Nana.
I thank you so much too for the call. 0302216541. Hello, who's talking to me?
Hello, Nana.
Hello.
I greet you, Godfather.
I greet you too, Derek.
I like this topic today. Nana, the issue is in every nation, I think culture is a soul of its intelligence. And the moment we throw that away, we are bound to face existential threat to our personal existence. Here, I think it's about research. Because let's go back and then look at Bebricks, how commercially viable it would have been if government should have ventured into that elite affordable housing space. Instead of this Bebricks factor, which I try to be corrected, with our climate here, we are prone to at least having cancer by using the concrete blocks because of the heat and the sun. Now, instead of pumping that much money into Bebricks, there's so much variety in the sizes. And then if you look at Bebricks houses, it doesn't cost that much. The more affordable, it increases more to our climate. If you look at the temperature, if you enjoy 1 hour in the Bebricks house, compared to where you will need air conditioners and at least other facilities to at least keep yourself going. And then also to certain things that we do, we need to be at least marketing our food and so much that we have that we can market to at least make the list more appealing. So I don't know where to start and where to end.
Thank you so much for your call, Derek. Thank you so much. 0302216541. The issue of culture always creates a great debate. But yes, there's so many of our proverbs that, the face value sounds negative, but the behind it is always a positive, so that if you are a target, if you are, you need to move on, you need to progress as a person. You must progress as a person. But maybe we'll look at the issue of time, right? The culture of time. What it is that we can do about time. Maybe you need to bring it up so that we will discuss. But hello, who's talking to me?
Your son.
Lower your radio for me, please.
Oh, say.
Yeah, because it's giving me...
It's off.
It's off. Okay. Who am I talking to?
My name is Emmanuel.
Emmanuel.
Calling from Akutia.
Okay. Let me hear you.
I've been listening to you steadily and then it's right on the head. Thank you very much.
Oh, thank you too. Thank you. In agreement. The line was bad
there,
but I think I got what you said. Thank you too. 0302 216-541. And hello, who's talking to me?
Hi, okay, George. Chama.
George, let me hear. That's my son. George down.
Yes.
George,
yes. Okay, I have an opinion.
Okay.
Quick one. I think the idea of government taking over mission schools is one of the fundamental issues, because you know that typically if somebody attends school in Edumasa, obviously he would have an interface with the chief and some people who will be on their face to teach them what it takes to become a good child. Now that responsibility has been taken off. It is led by a central government who is taking over and telling them all the things they need to know. And then also, I think some of the things too, I would somehow blame the traditional authorities.
Okay.
I think the idea of your belief and culture must be spelled out very well. Okay, because why do we find it comfortable to come to your palace? You have made it such that you embrace every culture and everybody to come to you, and you use the opportunity to tell people that these are the good sides and this is what good. Therefore, we are all welcome to the palace. But where a belief is impressed upon me as a culture, then that is where I have a problem. So I think when we begin to teach people, because some of the proverbs somebody is even talking about were said for specific reasons, and they are not to generalize every situation of somebody staying in leadership. It is not at all. So when all these things are not explained, we get confused and buggle up everything together, and then we feel that culture has no meaning. But the way we are talking to you on radio, I am sure if you were in America or you were in UK, a child could talk to you in anyhow and he just go for free. But I dare not do that. And this is what identify us as a people and the relevance of our culture. And so I think we have some work to do on all these relevant points, and we should be fine.
Thank you very much for your call. I mean, you see, culture has been corrupted through time. Because as a true traditionalist, you accept any culture. If you're a true traditionalist, you accept any culture, so that if I'm in Edumasa and people moving from Kokumba, Kokumba they moved in to come and farm yams. I don't try to change them to be Edumasa people. I accept them as they are. Just that the principles of rules of law, obviously we don't rape, we don't steal, we don't kill, those main principles stand. But if they want to they have any particular worship or any particular food or anything, it's not denied. It's not denied. And it goes to the extent that I'm not even allowed to, in a gathering, point out and say, oh, this guy sitting here is not part of us. That's true culture. But like I said, it gets corrupted through time. Hello, who's talking to me?
Nana Kwesi.
Nana Kwesi, I was waiting for your call.
Nana, nothing stands the test of time if it doesn't evolve. It's as simple as that. So we begin to embrace this. There will always be a friction. Look, me, as I'm sitting here right now, if you are bringing something to me that's from the olden days and it doesn't make sense to me in today's world, forget it. I'm chopping it off. It has to make sense. It has to make sense. See, let me do a typical example. In the olden days, they married you, right? You don't have a say. Today, we have a say in the kind of people that we want to be with. But yet, check this. We can say, okay, now we are not marrying for you. But the aspect where we check the background of the people that you want to be with, that one we can still hold on to it because it makes sense. It's relevant, right? However, the part where they choose for you, that is where it's no more there. However, the background check they ever yet. Doesn't it make sense? Is that not evolution? Anna, it doesn't make sense.
It makes sense.
Exactly.
It makes sense.
Well,
but see, the only thing I'll add to yours, which I think maybe we traditional leaders haven't done well, is the explanations to why things were done that way. You see, as an African, you marry for understanding and not love. It's just when Abrofune ba any start here love. But teteno, you were area. It's what I say. Because they knew you will grow to love your partner. Do you understand him? So we married on the basis of understanding. But when the white wedding came, we changed from understanding and then we did love. And so 3-4 months down the line, the love fizzles off. There's no understanding and then they are struggling. So you see, those days they could marry for somebody and over 100 years, they are still there. Sunday they wear the same cloth, they are going to church. They've now grown to love each other. Let me give you one example before I go. You know, when you go to a school, first day you go to a class, you look in the class and like 80% of them really look, for want of them, they're ugly. By the time you graduate, they are all beautiful and handsome. By the time you graduate, all your friends are beautiful and handsome. But first day na mobile, some of them, don't look correct. So but our forebears knew that once you live together, you actually even grow to look alike. So that's the reason why they were marrying for people. It's not because but they knew that, look, this girl comes from a good background. He comes with good heritage, and also let's team you guys up. Once you understand each other, you're good to go. But Charlie says, yes, scientific. Well, I want to love them.
Well, Nana, topic for another day, because I have a lot to say about that.
Thank you very much.
Why today is the marriages are ending earlier and the older days.
Because we're going for love.
You can also agree that the older days it lasted not necessarily because it was perfect. Most of the time, somebody do not have a choice than to stay. In most cases, is to satisfy the public and what you hold on to, the tradition.
Is that not what marriage is about, my brother?
Well, Nana, so Nana, today, you see, people are choosing their peace of mind and happiness over some of these things. So if the person is with you and you are messing them up, they won't stay in the name of religion, culture, and society. No.
Thank you very much, Nakosi. Let me get to the next caller. Hello, who's talking to me?
Hi.
Hello.
Good evening.
Good evening. I'm glad that is.
My name is Na.
Now let me hear you.
Okay, so I heard one of the callers comment on the Anoma Chewema Ojebo, and the person was like, if I'm a CEO and whatever, why should I be looking at moving? My comment on this is that, listen, as a human species, we need to develop. The degree you got in 1985 or 1990 might not be relevant today. The youth of today, by the time you have 10 years working experience, they have worked in like 3 or 4 companies already and have the wealth of experience. The baby boomers, they stay in one company for 20 years. So if you're a CEO, you have only a first degree, and you haven't acquired any other experience from any other organization, no other industry. You are sitting in one industry and you're a CEO. You might not be a target per se, but your position is a target. Mm-hmm. So for a young person coming up, a person doesn't want to be a junior manager or an officer for life. The person is targeting your seat. So if you are not going to improve upon yourself, you are you are in the side for a long time, and you become a target. It is not personal. Mm-hmm. It is how the environment is. So some of these proverbs we have, it applies. It's how you understand it and how you interpret it. So change is inevitable. Change is constant. It's something that would happen over and over and over again. Mm-hmm. So as a people, we need to understand that, yes, we have cultures. Our culture needs to change. Some of it, not all of it. Mm-hmm. Today, we have lost our culture. You take a bath and you see an old woman standing, and the young people are sitting. Where did we go wrong? It's like our grandparents taught our parents. Our parents may or may not have taught us, but as children, very soon, their kids in the next 5 years or 2-3 years will not be able to speak our language, because we are bringing up kids in Ghana here who can't speak any local language, but there are kids in London and US who can speak very well. Mm-hmm. But we are here, we can't even speak our own language. Our children can't speak it. So where are we going? So some of these programs and things we are talking about, they are very, very relevant, and as a people, we have to really look at it. If something is wrong, like the Calabash example you gave, yes, we can transmit disease from Calabash to Calabash. If there's a way to go about it, that we maintain the principles of our culture, but maybe the symbols and how we go about it can be adjusted, fine. But the goodness we have in our culture, let's keep it. The respect, the morals, let's keep it. So, when you misbehave, somebody will discipline you even before your parents come home. Mm-hmm. And because of that, there was respect. But now, what is it? These children are going about hungry and nobody cares. You come back from school and your child, recently there was almost an accident at Cape Coast where a child had left school, was on the street and nobody cared until a car almost hit that child. Wow. No knowing the child had walked. A child less than 7 years old had gone out of the school without the teachers noticing the child. And so these are some of the things they are talking about. So this is a little I have to say. We have to improve as a people. If we don't, then you become a target, unfortunately.
Thank you very much.
So
thank you. Hello, who's my last caller?
Yeah, this is Gokumensa from Atenia.
Let me hear you, my brother.
Yeah, you see, our culture and traditions at times are very good. But on the other side, some of our adages also are detrimental to our cause. Mm-hmm. For example, this adage which says that Yedinam ne yinam.
That's a fact, though.
Hello?
It's a fact.
Yes. So, you see, when you are now looking for work, you feel you have to give something to your boss before that person gives you the work.
No. In that case, when you're looking for work, you have to improve on your CV. You have to do the research. So that is the NAM that you have. You read about Joy FM. You improve your CV. You rewrite it so that element comes up. So that is your NAM.
Yeah, but Nana, in our current Ghana, for example, there are a lot of employment going on in the military forces. At times there will be no advertisement. People are paying huge sums and they are being taken. For example, they say you fine and another fee. This is another thing. So all these things are sort of bringing corruption to the system.
Thank you very much. Now, it's somebody who brought it, and I made a mouth. Just who do the abeja? No, be su the abba. No, is your mom. We know suppose they bring millions and millions, but bring something small water, small drink, small envelope. So I'll give you food, I'll give you water, maybe I even give you some place to sleep because adiasa. And then the next person who comes also enjoys. There's more to talk about culture. Indeed, we shall talk about culture. Papani Ashali is here to give you your news bulletin. Kofi Hayford has laid down some soul-searching songs, so we dig deep into our culture. And Kusan Kofi, as always, was on the ones and twos. I say happy 15th anniversary to Imperial Homes. I am Nana Ansah Kwao IV. Next Monday, God willing,